Hello there. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2020 and welcome back to M&E Pins. We're going to start another year of refurbishing pinball machines and hopefully you guys will enjoy a little bit or learn a little bit, maybe. Anyway, we're going to continue on with doing this piece of wall art back here. Mike's not down here yet. It's Monday, first work day in the new year for Mike anyway. I'm retired, so no work days. But Mike, I think, is held up at work because, you know, he's been off for like 3 weeks or something like that. So he's got some catching up to do. But I'm down here. I'm going to start by loading some Attract Mode software in here that I've been working on, and hopefully see if that works. This is going to be a first load of this version of the software, so it's likely not to work. Plus, there's a couple more of these little, can you guys even see that? So this is our little adapters, and we have a couple of them that needed to be added to that. Well, like nose holes. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyway. Excuse me, guys. It's been a while since I've done this. So anyway, we have 2 of these that we have to put in. I printed out 5 of them, so I'll get those 2 installed. But I'm going to start by loading the code because I'm much more interested in that, and we can do this most any time. I think we're still waiting for one of the rings to come in here. We have 3 of them with rings in it. One of them just has a glob of LEDs under the table just to keep the count right. When that comes in, we'll replace those, and then we'll be pretty close to done with this table, actually. I know we didn't film much of it, so you guys didn't see a lot, and hopefully, I mean, it's just wall art. It's not going to play or anything, so hopefully you guys will just enjoy it for what it is, and we can get some interesting attract modes done up that will look good as wall art. So anyway, without talking anymore, let me get to loading that code in there and we'll see how it works. Okay, here's the piece of wall art. You remember we mounted the processor right down here. It'll be covered up by the little skirt once we put that on. But I've got it connected up to my laptop here. I got my new code, and I'll go ahead and install it. Right now, the table is running the old Attract Mode code, which was designed a little differently. It basically just explicitly said, turn on this light, light number 26, light number 27, etc., etc. The Attract Mode that is in this piece of code is a table of all lights with a bit that just tells whether to turn it on or off, and it has 64 time slots in the matrix, so you step through it and turn the light on or off based on whether or not the bit is set or not set. So while it compiles, I can tell you that I've set the matrix up so that I can have 10 different attract modes, and I've also added some things to change color and do stuff like that. I think I left a little bit of that color changing stuff in here, so we might see it changing colors right at the beginning, and I think at the end. I don't really remember. I'll take a look at the code once it loads to see if it even runs. I mean, it has to run first, and then if it runs, then we'll take a look at setting it to do color change and things like that. So I'll just speed through this compiling part here, and after it loads, I'll come back. Well, I am having a little problem getting my code to load. I'm getting an error saying that my laptop doesn't recognize my micro. Once in a while it will, but most of the time it won't. I thought maybe it was because I was sucking too much power off with the lights, but I plugged the other power supply in and that didn't help at all. And then I remembered that on these STM32s you have to add a 1.8K resistor across the USB and I actually have a spot on this board for that resistor, which I forgot to add when I built this board. I don't have that resistor here, so I'm going to run home and get it. So I'll be back in a few minutes. It'll be a blink of the eye for you guys, and I'll go ahead and solder that resistor in and see if that fixes my problem. Well, I've got the resistor installed. You can see the leads sticking up out of the board there. My soldering iron is heating up, so as soon as it gets hot, I will solder that in, clip the leads off, bolt it back down, and we will try this again. Okay guys, I got the resistor soldered in. That did not solve my problem. I'm having another problem now. I have no idea what it is, but I'm getting an error when I just do a compile without even trying to output it to the board. I'm going to quit on this because I think I'm wasting a lot of time, and I can do this on my computer at home. I will deinstall that board over there, take it home, plug it into my big computer, see if it works there, and then I'll troubleshoot and figure out what's going on with the laptop here. So haven't used this laptop in a long time. I may have got some code mucked up on there or something. I don't know. So as not to waste a lot of time, I'll just abandon this for now and move on to something else. And Mike just called, and the something else I'm going to move on to is, he said that on this 8 Ball Deluxe table, I think it's the first ball here. He said 1 though, so it might be the one up here. I don't know, is not working correctly again. So I'm going to check that out and see what's going on there. I got you guys up on a tripod above this, so hopefully you can see this. I have not seen the problem yet, so I'm going to turn the game on right now and see what's going on. I got to plug it in. Hold on just a moment.
Deluxe 3 ball.
So they all seem to reset just fine. So that one, when it drops down, doesn't look straight. It looks crooked, but that's a mechanical thing, I think. Let's see what happens when I hit the, give it a credit. Game. Okay, so it popped back up okay, but the light didn't come on. So it's acting like the ball is already made.
2 ball, 3 ball, 4 ball, 5 ball, 6 ball, 7 ball.
Make the 8 ball.
The 8 ball. Nice shot. Make the deluxe. 1 ball. Rack 'em up.
Okay, so it looks like it. That sounds like it's just a switch not making. I'm gonna. I have to move the camera out of the way to lift the playfield up. But I'm going to lift that up and I'm going to check the switch to see if it's jammed on or something. So this is really interesting. I turned the thing up. There's the drop target assembly, but when I turned it up, this little piece of plastic dropped out. I have no idea where it's from. It appears that it's broken off of something that went around a shaft. Could be something on that drop. Oops, I'm sorry, I have that out of. Can I get that up close enough for you guys to see it? Where's the camera? There we go. So you can see on the ends of that, it looks like it might be, those things are, the pointed ends of those little fingers are a little rough, so it looks like it was broken off of something, but I have no idea what. It doesn't look like this comes apart in any sort of way. It's a solid molded piece, so however, whatever goes in here goes in there. It's, you know, it must have a rod that slides through or something. Anyway, I'll try to find this looking at the drop target. Bye. Okay, I don't know if you can see it there, but if you look, let's see if I can keep from blinding you guys. If you look at the drop target that I'm shining the light on, you can see that the plastic goes around that pin. If you look at the next one down, you can see the piece of plastic is broken off. So this is just a pure mechanical failure. Exactly what caused it, don't know. But luckily this drop target unit is a module that you can take out all by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and deinstall this. Well, as you can see, I have removed the drop target from the main thing. Luckily, it was the one on the end. I have it here in my hand, and I don't know if you can see this. Let me get some better light on it. But I have super glued that back together. So what are the odds of super glue holding this? 10% maybe, in my estimation. But Mike said that he was planning on replacing all of these drop targets anyway with new ones as part of the restoration process. So this isn't a real big deal, but I thought I would try and see if I could get this put back together and strong enough to play a few games until such a time as the new drop targets get in. So you can see I got a C-clip right there. There's a little shaft right down there that this goes over, and as soon as I'm convinced that the super glue is all hardened up, I will reinstall that and see if it works. So anyway, talked to Mike a few seconds ago. He will be here shortly, and then we can talk about all of this. Okay, where are we at? Let me see. Mike's here. First of all, Mike, say Happy New Year to the folks.
Happy New Year, everyone.
So anyway, so we are sitting here. We're still letting the glue dry on this thing. I want to make sure it's good and cured before I put it back in. We're going to go ahead and, why do I keep saying we're going to go ahead? I need to stop that. We're going to take the Matahari table off of here and mount our new client up on the table. And that is Harlem Globetrotters. So we're going to strip this table and get ready to replace it on a new table. Same drill as before, all LED lights, and just put the hardware back on. So anyway, we're going to get ready to do that. And so for right now, we're going to go ahead and just pull this off. I need to figure out what's going on with the code, and I'll do that at home. So we'll be back. Well, hello there. It's a Monday again. I've actually been down at the shed here for a little over an hour. Forgot to start recording. It's the way it goes sometimes. Mike actually was down here for a little while, but he had to run to a doctor's appointment. So we did a scan of a tabletop just for our record. It's the new Harlem Globetrotters table. So we scanned that before we start putting the components on it, just so we have a record of what the table used to look like. And back in the back right there is the wall art that I've been working on. I just soldered in a ring light on the fourth ring that we were missing. We got that part in. Of course, right behind my head here is the 8 Ball Deluxe table, and we still have over on the table over there the drop target that I glued together but didn't have a time to reassemble, and I'm actually probably going to start on that in just a little bit. My very next thing is on the wall art, I'm going to glue in the 4 round targets and put the tops on. And I've got the code for the attract mode working. It wasn't working last week. I found a few bugs, did some fixes, and so that's working now. And I got 2 different attract modes in there. I'll show you what those look like. And then I'll move on to working on that drop target. And hopefully by then Mike should be back. So, and I think when he gets back, we will be working on this table down here. And we're just finishing up the cleaning up of that and getting ready to mount the table that we just scanned and start transferring this over to that table. So we got a lot of things going on. I'll try and step you through them one by one as I get there. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is hot glue in these rings that are sitting here, and they need to be oriented so that the wires are sticking straight up. Like that, and then just a little, okay, not quite enough room in there for, let me get a needle nose pliers to hold that with. We made these things extra deep just to diffuse the light coming off of it, and because of that it's a little tight to get down in here with this and my hand. But I just put a little dab on each side, wait a few seconds for it to cool off a bit. And that is all it takes. So repeat that 3 more times. It's a little fidgety because the wires want to push it back out of the from underneath there. And that should hold those rings in place. I will go ahead and plug in the table so you can see some of the attract mode running. Since you're kind of upside down to the table, it looks a little funny, but it's working. It repeats this particular pattern 10 times and then it switches to a different pattern. Let me pull you out a little bit farther so you can see the whole table. And while that's running, I'll go ahead and start putting the tops back on. So in this attract mode sequence, there's 128 steps that I can program any light to come on or off. I can also program all the colors to change. So this is the second attract mode. It's just a horizontal band. It sweeps up 3 times, flashes a couple of times up here, and then sparkles out to finish up. And it'll repeat this 10 times, Then it should go back to the first pattern again. Okay, where did I do with the other top? So the code is currently written to support 10 different attract modes, and it just kind of sequences through each of them a few times, and just to give the table a little look, and it'll hang on the wall, and just repeat that over and over as long as it's turned on. As you can see, it's back to the old attract mode now. Okay, here is the drop target that I started to fix. I might have called this a pop bumper earlier. I don't remember. But anyway, I had super glued this connection together. I don't know if that's going to hold or not. But this thing installs right here. And then it hooks on a pin. And then there's this clip and spring that have to be attached to it, and then it's done. And it's actually gotten a little wider because I have glue on here, so it's having a hard time getting down into the slot. I might have to hit that with a little piece of sandpaper or something, or a knife. See if that goes. Okay, it's going to be a little difficult for me to film and show this to you. Lighting's not all that good, but right down in there, there's a pin. This slips over this rod, and that pin goes through it, and then this should be interesting. I think I'm going to have to take this bottom part apart to get that back over there. It broke away from around it. But yeah, I'm going to have to take this apart in order to get that over there. So this is going to take a little bit more than I thought it would. I'm going to have to move you guys out of the way. I probably are not going to film this. I'll just bring you back when I get it apart, show what it looks like, and then I'll put it back together. Okay, I have removed two plates. This plate, which mounted on the bottom of here, and you see those honeycomb or the comb effect that's open there. There was another plate right here that was mated into that, and I believe this is used to adjust the height of the targets, so that plate pushes in on these targets and allows you to adjust it so it's level with the top of the play field. So anyway, this one is the one that I have to figure out how to get over this thing. It's a little tight here, but I think I can do it, but I'm going to need both my hands. Well, that didn't work. As soon as I put just the tiniest bit of stress on that, that broke back apart again. So this was a no-go. I am going to re-put this thing back together so I don't forget how it was installed, and Mike will just have to order some new drop targets.